Welcome back to the early morning wrap up. Yeah, that's it. Anyways, we'll be doing a live stream later today in about 8 hours, around 1 p.m. BST or GMT, maybe like 8 or 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, whatever that kind of equates to for those of you on the eastern coast of the U.S. So with that said, I would like to wish you a happy, healthy start to your new week of new opportunities. I myself am feeling a lot better today, so I think if all goes to plan, meaning that if nothing goes to shit within the next 8 hours, we'll definitely do a live stream. If not, well, you'll probably know the reason why. But so far, so good. And I got my trusty tea with me. Massively appreciate all the suggestions that people been kind of throwing my way. I've actually been on a bit of a binge, kind of reading about like how to actually protect your vocals and whatnot. So with that said, massive thank you for that. And let's put the focus over here on the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It's 100% free. Check it out in the link below and claim your own free account right now. Anyways, like do it. Like and subscribe, and also take the free fucking app right now. There you go. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance heading down another 0.25%, fulfilling the full-on continuation of the non-reversal that we saw a few weeks ago. Now actually printing a new macro, or just actually getting below the prior macro low. So continuation there is implied, and that would be within the context of open interest also shooting up massively on Bitcoin here, as Bitcoin does test the top side of the range once again on all time frames, actually short, medium, and high term time frames, right around about $61,000 that is, and adding about 500 to 600 million in contract position from yesterday to today. And yes, indeed, we do have certainly new all-time highs with this. So I'm looking for this to kind of lead into price action. And we already identified this over the weekend, so this is more or less a continuous signal here, but I'd say that it still kind of equates to more or less good things. On top of that, we do see fear and greed index literally stuck at the 70s, which is rather interesting when the market is, pretty much right at the prior all-time high, and people aren't getting like too egregiously greedy, if you will. Top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins, shit coins here, shit coins there. No, just kidding. Binance coin having an absolute day. XRP had a phenomenal week last week, which we might actually even check it out today, just because it is rather interesting. But other than that, I think we'll leave that for the live stream a little bit later. Anyways, into the market data tab we go. Is there anything over here that I want to put specific interest in? Yeah, open interest again, leading price action. In price action, do we actually have a global new high here? 66.18? No, we do not actually. But more importantly, funding rates have come down quite significantly. Well, maybe not quite significantly, but they are still below the threshold, as Bitcoin is essentially threatening a new all-time high. And what we're going to do, I spoke with the developers last night, and we're just going to get rid of FTX for now, because the reads here are like obviously not correct, and they're just, being more or less of a eyesore. As you can see that all other major exchanges are well below I wouldn't say necessarily well below, but certainly below the 0.1% threshold, where I look at that as like kind of, an intense consideration. Bybit's a little bit above at 0.14. But overall, we do see that this is more or less a muted response, as Bitcoin is, at the top side of all time frame ranges. So with that in mind, I think it's time to go in the actual charts themselves, as the purpose of these videos is to keep them more or less focused and of course more like bang, not wasting too much time waffling on. So apologies for that. So let's start it off with, of course, with Dixie, as we typically do, to get the general buy, especially for the Forex traders out there. And we do have a bit of a local low going in on Dixie right here. Did shoot a little bit further past my target at about the 200 simple from last week. However, I still do like this area as a bit of a local low, and I would be looking for this one to trade up. I know that there's going to be some people out there who are gonna say something along the lines of, but how can the dollar be going up while Bitcoin goes up at the same time and stock market goes up at the same time too? What the fuck, Krown? First off, Dixie is relevant to other fiat currencies. It's not like literally the dollar's value. It's always relevant to other. It's actually relevant to a basket of other major fiat currencies. So if you are trading Forex, this basically just gives a bias for other Forex pairs versus US dollar, not necessarily versus like, an asset, for example, although there will be, tangential implications there. But overall, yeah, I would be looking for this one to put in a bit of a local low right here and works way back up somewhere around about 92.5 to 92.60-ish region. And that will put downside pressure on anything that trades against the US dollar in Forex land. So if you are a Forex trader right there, I would generally be favoring the dollar this week based off that. Looking at the weekly right here, it does look like we potentially have a lower high in place, however. So while I would be looking for a short-term, medium-term move to the upside, could I be looking for that to get rejected on the long term? Potentially, yes. But the criteria for looking at this as a continuation and confirming this is a lower high is more or less the same, as long as we do see the price action back above the weekly 21 right here, which is basically like your last sort of semi-consolidation before that nice move up from about 91.75 to our current high of 93.5. I wouldn't necessarily be looking at it as such, and I wouldn't be willing to call that certainly. So at least for now, I would be looking for a little bit of short-term, medium-term upside, come back a little bit later this week, and then judge it from there. Still, long-term timeframes, I do kind of more or less favor those based off of what we have seen macro style within this over time. Anyways, I don't want to go over the full rigmarole with this one. What I really call it back to is just all of the last macro lows. They take their time, right? They take their time. Anytime that we've seen, a 3-month-long base being built, typically a year, sometimes in some cases like 3 to 4 years, does kind of put in a nice rally after that. As you can see, right in over here. As you can see, right in over here. As you can see, right in over here. As you can see, right in over here and over here. All major macro lows, 1, 2, 3, 4. Count them 5, working on number 6 over here. Very, very similar, by the way, as well, with even just the time being spent there. So I would still kind of favor this north side over the long period of time. In fact, even if it came back down to like 91, I'd probably be looking at that as a long-term base once again and a long-term opportunity. So that's all going to be mediated right here by about the 91.75 level. And as long as it's above there, I remain generally bullish on all time frames. As long as it's below, if it does crack below there at the end of this week, then I would be looking for a full return back down to about $90. But again, I would look at that as an opportunity on the first pass at the very least. Anyways, moving on, let's see what we got going on over here. We have all the major indices for traditional markets to check out right now. Let's start it off with SPY futures. Really good closure last week, which just set in the bias for new all-time highs. Very likely over this coming week, like I'm talking about this one right now, or maybe next week. But overall, I'm never going to be bearish on something that looks like this. It's literally just leading into your breakout right now, and we can see that weekly RSI really tells a story right here. Nice consolidation around the edge of the bullish control zone, and then up and in. I'll be looking for this one to make a stab much deeper within this region here, as that does suggest that this run is still somewhat within its infancy. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like, not mature. It certainly is mature if you look at it from a long period of time, but I would still be sticking with my long-term targets here of about 41.50 for a medium-term move, and then long-term would be about 42.50-ish region. Anywhere around the 2-spot 618 would be a big area of interest right here, and that's where I would start to potentially be entertaining thoughts of a major macro high. But for right now, all momentum oscillators on higher-term timeframes pointing northwards right here, so I do still like the TSI, I do still like the RSI, and this is all just a continuation of the prior trend. Nothing too crazy right there. Looking at the daily right here, I'd actually maybe be looking for a bit of a backfill on Friday open, like $4,100, and then probably another try to the upside. I still like this chart. And I'll still be favoring more upside long term. Short term, however, is that going to be about the same thing? It does look like it wants to play a little bit of a sideways consolidation on the short term. Basing area would be about 4,100 regions, so that would still be your Friday open. Anyways, below that region, we start to talk about a greater pullback, maybe back down to about 40.75 to 40.80-ish region. But for right now, I do favor the upside. Anyways, moving on to Nasdaq. This one obviously more correlated heavily with Bitcoin specifically. And what do we see on Friday? Very good closure right here. I would be looking for an initial pullback, as you typically do get from testing your prior all-time high, or just any, local low or local high in this case. And, where would a natural pullback target be? Anywhere around 13.6, completely fine. Ultimately, though, very similar to SPY, I would be looking for further highs either this week or next week. I believe we have earnings this week, or maybe or maybe it's next week. I'm actually not so in tune with traditional markets right now, so I do need to go check out. Actually, I'll probably just go check out the liquidity zone, because they know what the fuck they're talking about over there. As I don't really spend my time watching what's called traditional markets as much as I do, Bitcoin, for example. Anyways, looking at this right here, yes, long term still bullish on this one. Short term, do we see a little bit of a pullback? It really wouldn't be asking for too much, but I don't think that it's about 13.6, 13.7 region. I'd still be looking at as a potential, but more importantly than that, I'd be looking at that as an opportunity here. So with all of that said, I do favor the upside long term, and that is going to make me more or less bullish on just about else. Dow Jones, what do we see right here? Same shit. literally same shit. Weekly, a little bit of a pullback. This one can pull back down, quite significantly, 33,350-ish region, but ultimately I'm still be looking for new all-time highs probably this week, maybe next week. Something like that. Low term timeframes, do they want to play a little bit of a pullback? Yeah, it kind of seems similar to SPY and Nasdaq here, as it should, as you typically do find, and maybe a short term pullback down to 33,500-ish region, but ultimately I do look at this as likely to get picked up and marched on over time. Anyways, moving on to, do we want to do gold, or do you just want to go, or do we just want to go to Bitcoin? Yeah, we'll just go to Bitcoin here. Why not, man? Why not? Anyways, Bitcoin short-term time frames, once again, testing the top side of the prior all-time high, essentially right here, right at this level, $62,000 over the weekend. And now with the advent of the last 24 hours since we last spoke, you can see Bitcoin putting in a bit of a higher low upon that last risen horizontal, if you want to call it that. What I mean to say is that the area that we had yesterday for a point of failure for the short-term timeframes, that can once again actually be moved up. Not all that much, but it can be marched up a little bit to this next sort of higher low structure right here, about 59,700-ish region, implying that as long as Bitcoin's above there, I'm essentially bullish on all timeframes. This is also further supported by, of course, all momentum oscillators right now, as we do see 4-hour Stokes pointed back north. We see 3-hour Stokes already leading it, 2-hour Stokes already there as well, and hourly Stokes doing the same thing, but kind of flippy floppy right now. But overall, we do see, more importantly, on the 4-hour, 3-hour, and 2-hour, that they're holding into the bullish control zone, which is very telling in and of itself. And that is going to be accompanied by a DMI plus signal as it does get dominant above the threshold with the ADX strengthening as well. I really, really like that setup. So the short-term timeframes now lining up with the medium and higher-term timeframes. Do you think that Bitcoin's going to have a chance to break to the upside before our April 14th date? Yeah, I do think so. In fact, I do think that it's very relevant to say that it might even happen today. We do see MACD kind of falling through as well. Not really giving us a whole hell of a lot of new things to be looking at right there. But of course, this is all accompanied by all the things that we've been looking at over this weekend. Daily has confirmed that hidden bullish evidence, days ago, actually. 2-day, same thing, actually confirming it last night, it looks like. 3-day back in the bullish control zone, also confirming that one. And the weekly now fully confirming it after yesterday night's close at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So all of this, especially around your prior all-time high, is usually, in my experience, a recipe to print new all-time highs. Or would I be still looking at Bitcoin towards our deeper $6,000 targets? Yes, I do think so. In fact, looking at this right here, we do see, if I just pull this a little bit further back, because this is getting way too fucking convoluted right now, we can see if we go down maybe better to a daily right here. Let's just pull this one over. Now that's still not exactly lined up what it should be. Based off memory, should be something like this. There we go. Anyway, yeah, there we go. 30,900 for this bottom base right here, and then the top side, yep, $41,000. Okay, perfect. Yep, still looking at 3.618 right here, just below $70,000. As a general target here. Of course, CME, I think it's just a little bit easier to identify, and CME is a lot more obvious as far as the lower term timeframes go right now. Daily kind of doing the same thing as well. DMI plus just getting dominant from the same territory as we have seen all major rallies kind of be born upon for the last 6 months on all of these continuation drives. I'm talking about here, talking about here, talking about here, talking about here, talking about, and more recently right here on spot price action actually. Anyways, daily Stokes looks like they want to cross the upside as well, and they certainly will with any sort of a closure here or higher, especially above $60,000 will certainly do it. And of course, this chart is still the one chart to be ruling them all, it looks like. And because we did have a little bit of a stutter step last week, this formation still does hold, actually. This is why I fucking hate formations, though, because you can always kind of redraw them, which makes them a little bit difficult to actually base trading plans upon. But now that we have this higher low right here at about $56,000, it's an obvious basing point, meaning that if you are playing the trend, if you are playing the breakout, if you are playing the expansion, the expansion very, very likely to come in volatility here, then that's going to be an obvious management point right there. Of course, it's not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, blah, 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 but this would have a measure move as an ascending triangle all the way up to, yes, the 3.618, right around $70,000 on, which has about $500 premium over spot price action right now, and we do have an area of interest along the way right around about $63,000. Again, the equivalent on spot would be somewhere around 625. So overall, I still do like this. Overall, I still do favor the upside, and overall, I am wearing overalls because I'm a fucking farmer, and I'm actually going to go down to the market right now, get a bunch of food, prepare for the live stream a little bit later. I think we will cut it off, or actually, let's go check out Ripple. Let's go check out some Ripple action right here. I just think that it's it's usually fun to pick on, but in this case, we cannot pick on it. We can only we can only be fucking long. I'd be looking for a downside move, actually, 114.5, but I would be looking for that 114.5 move to get picked up, or at the very least, produce a nice bounce. Very, very powerful move right here. Falling through with the rest of the market, a little bit of a laggard, obviously, as it's not necessarily the most strong of all time. But you can see that it has popped above and actually reverted the trend here. So we officially had an uptrend way back on over here in February, which has kind of changed NARD biases to long-term bullish, and now falling through on top of that. And there should be another basing area right here, right at the whole area that this thing's been held below for the past couple of years since April 2018. And that's actually just below $1, or sorry, just below 90 cents at 88.5. As long as you're above there, I am macro bullish, looking for very likely a retest to all-time high and probably new all-time highs. Again, not necessarily because I like believe in the technology or anything like that. It's a part of the crypto market right now, and everything gets a free rally. So long-term looks good on this one, and even the daily. I'm sure someone's going to say, but Krown, that's a shooting star dildo. Maybe it is, yes, but I would still be looking at any sort of move down to, I think it was like 113. Exactly what was that? Yeah, 113 as an obvious basing point, obvious opportunity, obvious at the very least bounce. You know, I mean, nothing's like guaranteed, right? But generally speaking, I do like that area for at the very least try for a higher low, and for the continuation over the long-term time here. Like I said, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this one's kind of in no man's land right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see the next move up towards, the prior all-time high, 275 region, and probably beyond. See pretty much everything within this market doing. Don't really have any real reason to believe that Ripple won't be doing the same. Again, there's no greater evidence that fucking fundamentals are a silly thing to be watching on something like this. At least from a trader's perspective. The reason why I say this before I get fucking crucified is because, look, this one has like open litigations against it versus like the SEC, I believe, or the CFTC, whatever it is. It's serious, and still this one gets to join the general rally as well. So the market more or less moves together, and it's not necessarily that it's lesser based off the actual technology, and it's more based off of just market cycles. In my experience. So a Ripple being no different, and that'd actually be fair from the upside here. And I imagine its brother, Stellar, would be doing the same shit. Anyways, back on a Bitcoin here to kind of wrap this one up. Basically, all higher term timeframes never really stopped being bullish. We've just seen continuation of trend here. We can once again flip up the point of failure for the extremely short term timeframes from, well, not 59.4 all the way up to about 59.7, or I guess it's better shown right here. As long as you're above there, I'm bullish on all time frames. If Bitcoin does crack back down below there, I would be looking for another run somewhere around the daily 21, which is about $1,500 lower, right around $58,000. And that's where the real test will indeed come, because if Bitcoin starts to crack back down below there, then you will be testing your last higher low, and, well, typically coming back down and testing that last higher low. It's not necessarily the best sign. But at the very least, I'd be looking for a bounce, and then probably have to go back to the old drawing boards here. Anyways, with that said, like I said, I'm just generally looking for a deeper 6,000 cut here, especially with an event coming up on the 14th of April. With that said, take care and see you potentially soon.